Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world who are here sharing their expertise and wisdom so we can all grow together. I'm your host, Heidi Schalk, and I'm excited to have you here with us today and with my special guest. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. We're really excited to have you here. I'm co-founder of HLH Growth Solutions, just a little background about us. And we help businesses grow their revenue and scale using outside the box visibility methods and strategies. So like I said, if you're new, please stay to the end because we're going to give you a free special gift just for being here. But without further ado, I want to introduce my guest today, who are going to dive into all about business growth and about what they're doing and amazingness they're creating in the world, especially in the education space. Alex McPherson with Bibliu. So welcome, Alex, to the podcast.
Hi, Heidi. Great to be here. Thanks for your time.
Great to have you. So can you tell me real quick, Alex, where are we talking to you from? Where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm in London at the moment in our head office in London. Actually, I got three clocks and time zones here. So we've got our London time zone. We also have an office in Greenville, based in Texas, and then Perth, where our founder's from. So I've got three time zones behind me, and I'm in the middle one here in London.
Yeah, so he's got to keep it. You got to keep all the times together of who you're talking to and when you're talking to him, right? For all of your offices. Awesome.
Yeah, that's it.
So if you're watching us on YouTube, you just saw Alex share his three clocks behind him. If you're not on YouTube with us, jump on so you can see what's going on the video side of this. But Alex, can you share with us a little bit about yourself, Bibliu, and your role within the company?
Yeah, totally. So I guess I started Bibliu nearly 8 years ago now, actually, as a graduate from university. So I just finished my degree at the University of Sheffield, studied economics, was kind of thinking, what do I do next? I had the ski season planned, and through a mutual connection, had the opportunity to come and intern at Bibliu. So I did kind of a 2-month internship, which I thought was kind of better than just doing some paid by hour work like I was planning to save up some cash for the ski season. So came to Bibliu, came down to London, so not from here originally, and did the 2-month internship. That was kind of a general internship and account management. And at the time, Bibliu was I think about 8 people, maybe less. Coming back from the ski season, I kind of the core group at the time were just super motivated, super smart individuals, and I thought, I'll learn a lot from them. I can see real value in the kind of Bibliu mission of just making digital content more affordable, something that was kind of difficult for me to get and use whilst I was at university. So joined Bibliu as an account manager at the time. So they made a role for me as an account manager. As you do at very small kind of startup companies, wore various hats for a year or so, and then kind of funneled into doing sales for the company for a few years. Things have changed a little bit since then, which we can talk about, but now I'm VP of Digital Operations. So I basically see our publisher relationships and all of our implementations and deliveries.
Wow, so you've been there, you said 8 years now. And how big is the company now? When you started there was 8. Where are you all now?
Yeah, so we are about 250 staff now. So yeah, very different to when I joined, which was kind of eight people in a tiny little startup office throwing a little basketball around and a hoop to being kind of a proper company. So yeah, it's been really cool to see it from one end to the other. And as you can imagine, loads of change along the way.
Absolutely, which we're going to dive into a lot of that later on. But so this is really cool to have this growth conversation because you've been there from when it was this, like you said, a small startup into seeing all the growth and expansion over the last 8 years, which has been tremendous to go from 8 to about 200, over 200. So kick us off with you started in a different role than you are now. So what inspired you, or what was the motivator from going from maybe from the sales arena into operations?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I kind of, I guess, almost fell into sales, like doing various things at Bibliu. Had some success in sales, kind of enjoyed it and enjoyed interacting with customers and doing that side of things. I guess after doing that for about 4 years, all of my experience had been at a startup doing sales. So the kind of next obvious thing was, I don't want to do this startup thing now. I want to go to a bigger tech company and just do sales. And did that for around 11 months. The company was great that I went to. just was a kind of made me realize actually sales isn't for me. I think it kind of takes a certain personality type, which varies, but sales just lends itself to certain people better than others. I kind of found it stressful, I guess, and work can always be stressful, but carrying a quota and constantly kind of chasing was something that I struggled with a bit. So I came back to Bibliu after a year of kind of leaving in an operations role to oversee our project management office, which is now part of our implementation team. So yeah, I guess just to answer your question again, really, I think main change for me was sales is very kind of flippant. You have periods of doing really well, maybe periods where it dips a little bit, and ultimately you're not going to win everything you work on in a sales setting, which is totally fine with some people. That's part of the battle, part of the enjoyment when you do win. For me, I kind of found it frustrating and probably internalized it more than I should have. And if I wasn't winning, I always thought, I've done something wrong rather than the timing wasn't right, etc. I think with operations, the main difference is you obviously make mistakes and you learn and you change what you're doing, but generally speaking, you're kind of always moving things forward. Whereas with sales, you might work really hard for 6 months on an opportunity, timing isn't right, it doesn't go ahead. That's kind of the nature of the beast. Whereas operations, I kind of feel like it comes a little bit more naturally. And like I said, that even if you do make mistakes, you're generally kind of moving things forward. So yeah, very, very personal, but that's kind of what I found for me.
Oh, thank you for sharing. Because like sales isn't for everybody, right? We are always, it seems like we're always selling but different things, but sometimes in the arena of selling a product or service, especially when your income relies on it, can be, again, it's not for everybody. So I totally get it. So let's talk about AI a little bit, because it's, hot topic. It's not going anywhere. It's only growing and evolving faster and faster each day. So how are the operations teams at Bibliu currently thinking about integrating AI into the day-to-day processes, or how are you already integrating the AI into your day-to-day processes?
Yeah, again, it's a really good question. I mean, there's so many different ways you can utilize AI now. And I think the first thing is kind of working out what the different types of AI are. It's easy to just say we want to implement AI, but what does that mean? Is that automating how many customer support tickets you can kind of answer quickly? Is it automating processes, that are manual and you think can be done by computers instead, or by AI? So I think everyone's kind of knowing we need to utilize this, we need to use it to be more efficient, but really it's kind of stripping down, okay, where can we leverage AI and what does that look like? So we kind of have who's actually a friend of mine and also works at companies called Sam Holding, and he's always kind of posting on LinkedIn, etc. Some really interesting insights, but he's kind of become almost our resident expert at Bibliu in AI. So it sounds simple, but the first thing we kind of do is if we have a process, say that we think actually this takes a lot of time, we could use AI to do this process for us. The first thing we kind of have started doing is going to Sam and saying, where can we utilize AI? Do we even need AI to do this thing? Or is that just a buzzword? And actually, there's already things that aren't AI that could do that. So I think that's kind of how we've stripped it back and thought about it, and then how we're using it day to day. Like I said, some of the things I just mentioned, it's kind of anything that requires searching for data or information, be it externally in our own systems. You can kind of obviously use your AI search functionality. That's fairly obvious. The thing we're now starting to do is kind of looking at, if we look at our processes and how they kind of map. So from front to end, you have steps along the way. They may be various teams, they may be one team. You kind of look at that and think where, a lot of the time, the front to end uses different systems, it touches different data. So if you can kind of have AI as a hub that connects all of it, then generally speaking, the kind of manual work, jumping between systems, jumping between information sources becomes a lot more automated and a lot quicker. So maybe you don't need someone sat there looking at four sources of data and compiling a report. The AI will look across all of those systems, summarize, and then you can have an individual, say, verifying a report. So that's kind of a couple of the things we're doing at the moment, and I guess just how we're thinking about it a bit more holistically.
So in your experience, how are you finding the right balance between automation and the human touch, especially in operations or customer support?
Yeah, again, like a really good question. I've read quite a lot about it recently. I think kind of where, you know, generally technology is landing with AI is that if you're leveraging AI in things like customer support, you have to maintain a level of human interaction alongside that. So I think it's great, use as much AI as possible, automate as much as possible, but there has to be human intervention and touch points alongside the AI, particularly if it's customer facing. So if customers used to interacting with a customer service rep, they're now talking to a bot. It's still important that, at regular intervals of time, you have someone who is a human kind of reaching out and just verifying, are you getting the answers you need? Are you getting the customer service you need? And I think then for customers and recipients, they feel like the AI is helpful and they're still getting their, face-to-face time rather than just feeling like they've kind of been palmed off to AI. So I think that's probably where the tech space is landing and kind of where we're landing with it too.
Amazing. So, Alex, what are some of the key innovations that set your platform apart in the ed tech space?
So we can kind of use things that have worked well in the UK and make customers feel listened to and like we're kind of helping them along the way, applying that to the US and vice versa. In terms of our platform, so we're a fully integrated solution provider. So we provide the campus bookstores that kind of are very familiar in the US and students, etc., love, as well as providing the digital software. So that kind of gives us a holistic approach to our delivery and means that when we're talking about, using Bibliu as your provider, you're using us within the campus store for the digital platform, which kind of means we have like a continuous feedback loop with customers and any kind of feedback, adjustments, improvements, changes they'd like to see isn't just constrained to say just the campus store, it's the digital platform and everything that goes alongside that. So that's kind of one differentiator that I think gives customers a bit of kind of flexibility. And again, where we're just a newer kind of company to the market, we've grown quickly, we're still growing, but we still take a very custom approach. So we can kind of make changes or adapt the way we work or our systems work to kind of benefit and support customers, which is obviously a little harder to do when you're kind of a massive entity with thousands of employees and yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about growth. I'd like to lean into that a little. You've gone when you said 8 employees, now you're over 200. So that's a lot of growth in a matter of 8 years, which is fantastic. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Can you share with us? I'm sure there's been ups and downs, challenges along the way. Can you share one or two of the challenges that y'all faced in your growth and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, totally. So I guess one of the challenges I've seen, if I think back to the very early days as well to now, is that your kind of objectives at the company is always changing. You're kind of pivoting the priority for the week or the month. When a company is very small, I think employees of the company know that things are going to change. You're joining a small company, and that's kind of par for the course. That's expected. That kind of still happens, but to a lesser degree when you're at the size we're at now. So I guess one of the challenges and things we have to be kind of careful of is as we're kind of priorities are changing, objectives are changing. When you're a larger company, you have to be a little bit more consistent with those. So you have to make sure that maybe, you have 5 key company objectives for a quarter. Those 5 can't all change every quarter. Otherwise, kind of people feel demotivated. They don't know what to work on, what to prioritize. So, you still have to be flexible and adapt in business, right? As a growing business, like AI being a major example of that. But I think you have to ensure and be very deliberate with being consistent with at least some of those objectives, so that, people, even if some of their day-to-day and priorities change slightly, they still feel like they've got that kind of consistency. So that's one major thing, I'd say.
So what's the big goals for Bibliu over the next 12 months? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, so like I said, we kind of branched out to the US in 2019. We've seen lots of success and growth. The last kind of 2, 3 years in particular, we've gone from having kind of when I rejoined in the operations role, we had, I think, around about 10 US customers. We're now at 60 plus.
Wow.
So really, we just love for that to keep increasing. And if we were here in kind of 12 months' time, we'd like to be talking about having 250 accounts and campus
Yeah.
stores we run. And kind of as we branched into delivering those campus stores as well, loads of learning challenges. But it's super interesting, like delivering a retail business alongside the kind of digital side, which I personally was obviously a lot more used to and knew how everything operated, to now be in a retail space with point of sale systems and, how to efficiently barcode and tag items. It's totally different. So yeah, I'd say in 12 months time, probably be double, tripling our customer base and just continuing to reach more students, make learning kind of more effective, efficient, and affordable for students.
And so you've grown from you started at how many in the US, you said? 19?
About 10, probably just under 10 accounts.
And then you're at 65 now, around 65. So
Yeah.
what visibility wise, marketing wise, like how are you getting in front of your customer, and like what's working for you, what has worked, and maybe what are some of those things on the visibility marketing strategy side that haven't worked?
Yeah, again, it's a good question. So we found in the higher ed space that it's very relationship driven. So there's probably less of a bottom line focus than maybe in other industries. So very relationship driven, everyone in the industry talks, discusses how things have gone. So we found conferences have always been quite a good way of, it sounds obvious, but especially post-COVID, I think some businesses have kind of made the decision that actually conferences are not a cheap way of spending kind of marketing budget. And, are we getting a good return from it? For us, we found conferences, etc., still really helpful, just to put a face to a name, meeting customers, as well as doing stuff in person. Like the US is so big, we have staff based all over, but if we're trying to win a new customer or meet a new customer, still keeping that kind of face-to-face interaction has just been really key. I think the other thing as well, so going back to Sam Holding, again, he'll be on LinkedIn. He's posting all the time about our go-to-marketing function and how, with leveraging AI and tools like that, you can kind of be much more targeted in your marketing approach. So rather than kind of a spray and hope you hit someone who's looking
Right.
for our solution, being very targeted and kind of thinking of it as, you're not wasting others' time, we're not wasting our own. If we're kind of spending more time on finding prospects who are looking for our solution rather than more time on just pure outreach, it's kind of maybe that shift is now, 70% of that team's time is finding uh, candidates looking for that solution, and then 30% outreaching to them, rather than in the past, it may have been more of a 30% doing the research and just outreaching 70% of the time. So that's been a real shift. And again, Sam talks loads about that and kind of how his team are thinking about that.
Yeah, awesome. So if I could give you a magic wand, Alex, and you can wave it over one challenge you're having right now, one issue, that you could go poof and make it disappear, what would it be and why?
Oh, yeah, I should have prepared an answer for this. That's a tricky one. I guess the kind of market we're in particular in higher ed, the landscape's changing quite a lot due to kind of federal changes and state
Mm,
changes within the higher ed space. I think it makes it really hard for universities and colleges to kind of decide on their strategy, and a bookstore service provider like ourselves being part of that strategy, because there's just too much instability in things like their budget and how the landscape of higher education is going to change in 2-3 years time. So they have to kind of go into this period of assessment rather than making decisions, making changes and running with it. So I think if I could wave a magic wand, I'd say at the kind of federal US level, clarity over kind of funding and how the next 5 years of higher education is going to look. And I think that will just help institutions to kind of, solidify their strategy and act on it rather than kind of thinking, oh, we need to wait 6 months before we decide on our strategy because things might change. So, yeah.
And well, one last question, Alex, then I'm gonna let you go. So what trends in higher education and digital learning are you most excited about or even concerned about in the next few years?
Yeah, so I'm sure it's an obvious one that everyone is saying at the moment, but just how AI is going to change things, brings loads of opportunities, outside of Bibliu, just in the space, and as a student using AI to help with, essay writing and assignments, etc. That's great. That will help students like the quality of their answers to improve, etc. But obviously that brings a challenge as well. Like, how do institutions monitor that and kind of ensure things are still being done ethically? So that's definitely kind of one thing, I guess. And another thing, again, related to AI is just how the future of learning might change with AI. Will we move to more instructors being like bots that are kind of answering and leading classes? So it'll be interesting to see how that all shapes up. I think it will probably again become a blend of AI. We'll have lots of functions that help instructors, academics, and students, but again, ensuring there's plenty of human touches along the way to kind of monitor it and make sure people still feel like they're getting that face-to-face interaction will be key.
Amazing. So Alex, can you share with everybody listening how they can connect with you, learn more about Bibliu, and social media, website, all those good places?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on LinkedIn, so it's Alex McPherson, Bibliu.com, so Bibliu.com, and our LinkedIn pages. We're kind of constantly posting articles from new customers, etc. we've worked with and kind of how we've helped them. So worth checking those out. And like I said, probably having a look at some of the stuff Sam is doing, my colleague, he oversees our growth function. He's a massive user of AI. And to be honest, would have answered any AI questions a lot better than me. So he'd be a good person to check out too.
Well, you did a great job. So thank you for being here and thank you for giving us your time today. I really appreciate it. For those of you listening, if you're watching us on YouTube, and Alex and I thank you, we're happy to have you here and excited that you're here with us. Please go ahead and leave a comment or share this episode. Share Alex and Bibliu out with those that you might think could use their support and help, or you think could learn more about Bibliu. If you're also watching us on YouTube, there's a subscribe button. Feel free to hit that subscribe button. That allows us to alert you when we have more amazing guests like Alex on the show who are talking about how they're growing, how they're doing it. They have a successful company. They've been here for years. They've gone, when he started with them, from 8 employees to over 200. So they obviously know what they're doing in the growth space. So definitely be sharing this out and hit that subscribe button so you can learn more from our amazing guests like Alex. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, please, and you can leave a review. We would love 5 stars. That helps us reach more people with our amazing guests like Alex that we're bringing on this show. The goal of this podcast is to see more businesses thrive. There's too many businesses that fail within the first 5 years. The numbers are high. We want to flip that number. We want to flip that stat. And we need you to help us do that, along with our guests who are giving their time on the show with me. I promised y'all a gift. So if you're looking to grow your visibility, Alex shared what they're doing, conferences, in-person events. If you've been doing things and you feel like you're just not getting the traction and the growth that you want inside your business, then go ahead and download our Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint and go grab that. Alex, before we wrap up, is there anything that you'd like to share or anything I didn't or touch on that I didn't get to ask you or we didn't talk about today?
No, it was great meeting. And I just want to say, Heidi and team have been great throughout, super easy to work with. So if you're thinking about doing one of these yourself, I definitely recommend it. So yeah, thank you, Heidi.
Thank you. Yeah, if you're a founder or an executive in a business that's growing and you want to be a guest on the show, please reach out to me. Feel free to reach out and connect. We like to have fun here, Alex. So the easier that just the flowing of conversation, and you've been such a joy. So thank you for your time. I know you're busy. I really am grateful for it. Thank you all for listening to Alex and I. We will have all of Alex's contact information in the show notes. So make sure you connect with him inside of LinkedIn. Go find Sam as well on LinkedIn and go to bibliu.com to learn more about the company. Again, thank you for listening to us, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlight.